What's up, everyone? This is Taylor from AR Taylor, and in this video I'm going to be interviewing my very good friend, Michael Muinos.
Hello.
Michael runs a YouTube channel that helps software engineers go and develop technical interviewing skills. So what he does is he'll take questions from all over the internet and solve the problems and show it in a very detailed and explain everything of what's going on. He has a great YouTube channel. I'm going to be linking it in the description below for you guys to go and take a look at it. And today I'm going to be interviewing him because he is creating an online platform that's going to be helping people go and learn these technical skills for doing these interview questions. And so the main question that we wanted to talk about today is when would it be good for someone to go and stick with a technology that they know versus learning something new in order to go and solve whatever problem that they have or to go and build whatever solution that they're trying to build. So Michael, you want to tell us about your site?
Sure. So like Taylor said, I'm developing a course platform. I want to make really, really high quality programming tutorials to solve various algorithm problems. So your typical leak code problems, but also go into, really detailed algorithms that maybe not a lot of people know of, and make them fully animated. So I want to create, a very nice looking, easy to use site so that anybody can go on and learn about it. So I've been working on it for a little bit, and I've, kind of been jumbling around with which technologies I would choose. And that's kind of the main topic of today.
Yep. And so, Michael, when you initially decided that you wanted to make this platform, what technologies were you going to do, like as far as what were you going to do for your front end? What were you going to do for your back end? Were you going to build an app? Like, what was your thought process of what pieces did you want to fit together to make this thing work?
Yeah, I mean, my thought process is that anyone trying to, learn about algorithms, solve these leak code type problems, that it would be web-based. I imagine people aren't going to be doing this on their mobile phones. I guess there's nothing stopping you, but I wanted to make, a platform that was entirely web-based.
Makes sense.
So at least the technologies that I started out with, I love using Go, and, we worked on a project together in Go, at least for the backend portion, and that's what I started out with, but I don't use Go professionally. So it's actually pretty rare that I use Go on my day-to-day. So getting up to speed again using that technology was it took a lot of time. I still had a good amount of knowledge in it, but of course when you don't do something for a certain amount of time, you just have to refresh yourself.
So what do you use professionally, and are you super familiar with that?
Yeah, well, Go, I did it professionally at my old job, but now at my new job, there's no Go development happening. So pretty much a lot of that knowledge I've really forgotten. Right now, I use a lot of Python with Django.
Gotcha.
Everybody knows Django. At least if you do Python development, you've probably heard of it. And so I kind of made the decision recently that it may not be in my best interest to continue to develop using Go and the various frameworks that they offer, just because I don't have as much experience in it, and I haven't been doing it as much as, the Django work. So I kind of was in this dilemma. Do I want to, push through and use this piece of technology that, there definitely are pros, speed, and also it's a very in-demand skill on top of that, or do I just want to get something out there as quickly as possible? And that's inevitably what I, kind of chose to do. I kind of switched to use Django because I do it professionally, so I could develop faster.
Makes sense. So, you switched to Python and Django because you're just more familiar with it, as well as you just have this constant learning that you're doing in your professional work. And I know Django, it provides a lot of functionality to you because it's a pretty fleshed out framework.
Oh yeah.
Compared to Go, did that influence your decision at all with, picking Django and Python over picking Go?
Absolutely. One of the biggest contributors to my decision was Django offers an admin panel pretty much like you can have like a dashboard that you can go in and log into, and any data models that you have, you can pretty much go in this admin panel and perform operations on your data. This is really useful for any site you develop. In Go, there are libraries that allow you to do it, but there isn't, like, it's more of like a grouping of a bunch of third-party libraries that you have to use. And also, I didn't have any experience with them, so it was just more of a learning curve on top of it. I do eventually, I want to go learn those things, but I feel like I'd rather just get the site up and running. I feel like that's my main priority. So yeah, having like an admin dashboard was a big reason. And then also another big reason was there's just so much more documentation. You know, if you run into problems in you're, you know, developing in Django, they're guaranteed you're going to find something on Stack Overflow or whatever other site. You will be able to find your solution very quickly. But I noticed when I was, you know, getting things set up in Go, and I was using the Gin HTTP framework and some other libraries. There are obviously a lot of people that use those technologies, but you know, if you run into something kind of niche, you're going to spend a lot more time.
Makes a lot of sense.
The development time is slower. The pro of using Go is obviously just speed. But I figured right now I don't really need to worry about that, so that's inevitably why I chose it.
You probably have like ease of deployment too, like, you know, you're just getting just one big like static binary, just binary that you just can throw up wherever you want to based on the platform. So
that actually is a big pro of Go though as well. Is deployment with Go is really easy because
you don't have to like
it spits you a binary, and then you can deploy it on any OS. So. But yeah, I'd say for both, deployment is not too bad.
Yeah. So it seems like Go is kind of better suited if maybe you're working at like a large company, you have like a lot of microservices that you may be trying to manage, and maybe you need you already have deployment pipelines that you have very easy, like those are clearly defined. You have ways of managing all this stuff. But then if, like in your case, where you're not as familiar with it and you're just super familiar with Python and Django, you're just like, you know what, I'm trying to launch this venture right now. What is the quickest way that I can go and take this thing to market, put it together? And so it was like Python and Django.
Yeah. If I had started this, you know, maybe at when I was working at my last job, you know, we were working on this Go service. I was working with that every single day. I had a really good understanding of the nuances of the frameworks that I was using. But now it's like a lot of that is just kind of like, you know, forgotten. Because it's been definitely over a year and a half since I've worked with it. And that is kind of my fault. Like, I could have stayed more up to date on it, but you know, just not enough time.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Because, like with my stuff, you know, the site that I'm working on, I switched from, was started it in Go, using the same code that we had from our previous project. Kind of started building on that. And then I remember I got to a point where I'm like, this is not an enjoyable experience for me. You know, and granted, you know, there's technical benefits to writing in Go. Like, it's really fast, but I'm just thinking, I'm a solo person working on this. I'm not enjoying writing this code in this way. And then I was working on an Android app as well, and I was writing in Kotlin, and I absolutely love Kotlin. Like, favorite language by far. And I remember just thinking like, okay, well, there's tons of people that make servers using Java. Like, that's probably one of the most widely used server, you know, platform server languages out there. Kotlin is based off of the JVM. I'm like, why not just write it in Kotlin? I wasn't super far along, you know, to where it was like it would be a substantial thing to rewrite it. I think I started it and I wrote most of the code to get back to where we were in Go. Did it in Kotlin in like a week or two. But I just remember like how fun and how enjoyable that process was. And then I also was able to have like synergy in the sense that, you know, any concepts I was learning on the Android app side, I could apply it on the server and vice versa. And I didn't have to context switch between, okay, for this thing, I'm using this language, and then for this other thing, I'm using this language.
Yeah.
So it made just development a lot faster for me and a lot easier.
Yeah.
So
with that being said, it made me think about if I should use Node. Because, I would just be able to use
JavaScript or TypeScript.
JavaScript or TypeScript in both sets of the front end or back end. But I ended up against it just because I didn't want to have another thing that I have to get caught up again. I have worked with Node a lot at my old job, but once again, haven't worked with it in a long time. I just wanted to use something that I'm very familiar with right now.
Yeah.
So
it makes a lot of sense. Point. And also, too, for like the type of platform that you're building, it's not like you have like some super strict performance requirements where you're not building like a cryptocurrency trading platform where you have to be able to execute requests like in the highest performance way possible. It's like, hey, just run probably some CRUD operations, and then also be able to serve some videos, serve HTML pages, and you're done, so I could definitely see like having like one of the biggest things, like when you're using Django, having that admin panel, you're able to just manage everything, especially with the project I'm working on. I have to build all that stuff on my own. Like that takes time. It takes a lot of time to do it versus Django out of the box. Boom, you're good.
Yep.
Yeah. So it makes a lot of sense. Okay, Michael. So you're building a website, right? Do you have a lot of experience with HTML, CSS, or JavaScript on the front end?
So at my old job, like doing CSS was definitely abstracted away from me. We had like an internal framework. So pretty much some of the more experienced front-end engineers, they pretty much just created a bunch of utility classes and then you could just use them. So that's at least was my experience using like CSS at my old job. HTML, JavaScript, I was pretty comfortable with. JavaScript, I was very, very comfortable with. I use that the most at my old job. But CSS, since it was so abstracted away from me, I didn't really use it pretty much at all. So now for building this site, I have to kind of dive into all of it. CSS, the full stack. CSS is without a doubt like the most difficult thing for me. Because I'm not a very designy person, it's pretty difficult to, arrange a page so that it looks the best. It, performs well.
It's responsive too. It works on all platforms, different sizes.
And accounts for all the different screen sizes. Like I haven't done really anything to that extent, so it's definitely a big learning curve for me, but it's enjoyable because I know that this stuff is useful to learn. So although I won't be doing any front-end development for my current work, I still feel like it's a useful skill
for sure.
Yeah.
Is there any things like any maybe like frameworks you'd recommend that has made your life easier, at least for like bridging that gap between like you said you're uncomfortable with CSS? Is there anything that helped you kind of get better?
Yeah, so originally I was just writing the raw CSS. That's what I started out with, and I got somewhat comfortable with the different keywords, like the flex box. I started to like use that a lot and learn what all the different keywords relating to that. But then I came across this framework called Tailwind. And that kind of like changed everything.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, so Tailwind pretty much just gives you a bunch of utility classes, and you just get to pop them into your HTML code.
Yeah.
And it makes your life so much easier. If you're not really comfortable with CSS, but you have like an understanding of the keywords and how they work, Tailwind is the way to go, in my opinion. And I'm not like, a front-end engineer by any means. I'm not super experienced like I am in the back-end world, but using Tailwind has made my life so much easier. You can build out pretty nice web pages in a very small amount of time and make them all responsive. So I cannot say there's so many great things I could say about Tailwind.
I'm using it on my site too, and when I first started working with it, like I just remember I was like kind of getting a bit frustrated with just like, bro, this just seems so difficult to like learn like all these add this class, add this class, add this thing, add this thing. And I remember I was very close to just saying, I don't want to do this, and to just shop around, look for something else. But something in me told me to like, I was just like, you know what? Let me just stick with it, try it for a day.
Yeah.
And I remember what really helped me is I started looking at some other example code, that other developers that use Tailwind use. And once I was able to, like, I had a thing that I was trying to make, which was like a navigation bar at the top of a web page I'm working on. And I had to understand all those little bits and pieces. So when I was like, okay, I need to change this to make it work the way I want it to, I had to physically dig through each of what was going on. And that helped me a lot to actually understand and dissect, oh, this thing does this does this, does this. And granted, it's kind of difficult because you do have to learn like the vocabulary of Tailwind. But once you learn it, it's very easy to like, work with it.
Yeah. There definitely is there's a learning curve to it.
For sure.
Because on top of learning the utility classes that the framework offers, you do need to understand what these utility classes are actually doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it can be a big learning curve in the beginning. But once you get over that hump, I noticed my productivity was just skyrocketing when it came to working on the front end portion. Because working on the back end portion was kind of the easy part, in my opinion.
You do it every day.
Exactly.
And it's also like wrapping your head around, okay, this is my input, this is what my output needs to be.
Yeah.
Bada boom, bada bang, write some tests, you're good to go.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty much the only like noticeable framework that I'm using. I'm using some other frameworks, but that's definitely the biggest one and most helpful one.
That's awesome. Now, do you have like any, like, I guess, project management wise, like, are you employing any particular strategies? Do you have maybe a process that works for you that you've been working against in order to go and build this out?
Yeah. So obviously I'm a team of one, and I do this on top of like doing YouTube videos and, working a full-time job. So really what I've been doing is I manage all of my tasks in a Trello board. And I've noticed that works out for me. I have like a to-do column, in progress column, a done column. I have some other columns I forget, but that's not the point. I track all of the different tasks that I have and that I want to complete. And I'll just put them in there. I do have to get better at, managing my time and making sure I actually dedicate myself to certain tickets to be completed in a certain time frame. That is one thing I haven't mastered yet. Yeah,
it's very hard to do. I feel like also, with the project I'm working on, that when you're a single person, you like have so many things that you have to juggle. Just being like, oh, I'm going to work on this one thing.
Yeah.
While you're working on that, you may be like, this actually has an interaction with this thing also. Let me go change that real quick too. And so you kind of get spread out in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and I think that's okay. I think I feel like the Trello board is more just to keep my mind at ease,
Makes sense.
And keep it organized, because there maybe are things that I'll forget that I'll want to do later, and I'll put it in there.
Gotcha.
So I'm not following like any like agile methodology by any means, or waterfall or anything like that. It's more just very ad hoc.
Yeah. And also too, like you said, if you're a one person, like if you think about the idea of like management, at least I would think is those are techniques that you need for managing teams of people.
Yeah.
When you're managing yourself, it's not so much like management as much as it's just discipline.
Yeah.
Are you going to do the work that you need to do on a consistent basis?
Yeah.
That's what's most important. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Is there anything else you want to talk about, Mr. Muinos?
I think that's it. That's all I got.
All right. That's all I got too. Thanks for watching, guys. This is Taylor from AR Taylor with Michael Muinos. Make sure to check out his YouTube channel. He does really great videos on technical interview questions. And when do you think your platform is going to drop?
I'm shooting for the end of the year.
End of the year?
That's my goal. Yeah, because I still want to make the YouTube videos for everybody. So I'm trying to balance it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, man. As always, it's been a pleasure.